Good evening. Live from my house. It's Saturday night. Okay, let me do a quick sound check because we know how good I do with that. Just bear with me for 1 second, y'all. Okay, I hear me. So that should be good. Alrighty, so kind of went back and forth. I always kind of jump right into it. All right, so let me back it up a little. Hey y'all, I'm RnBBae, of course. You know that if you're here, right? And if you have not already, please go ahead and like, subscribe, share, whatever you're inclined to do, no pressure. But what I was getting into was I kind of went back and forth about what to even talk about tonight. And in my undecidedness, I quickly did a search on Riley Gaines. And, I did talk, I think, last Saturday about her case and the fact that she is, hey, super wise woman, thanks for being here. The fact that she is obviously suing Leah Thomas, and the fact that their case and this whole situation between the two of them hasn't gotten too much media coverage. And I thought that was interesting. So I did promise you guys that I would keep an eye out for this and anything new, any updates, what have you. So I did, of course. And I actually found that there was a lot more in the media than I realized on the case. I just, of course, couldn't search on Google. So I did a search on DuckDuckGo and found a lot more information there. So to kind of jump right into it, and obviously for a quick background for anyone that does not know, Riley Gaines is a swimmer, an Olympic swimmer, and she swam against Leah Thomas, who is a transgender woman, and she lost to him, and she lost her title, and now she is suing because she was she was gypped. It was taken from her. This is something that she's been working towards for at least the majority of her collegiate career in swimming, and she lost to a biological male. So the newest is that she's taking it to the next level. Riley Gaines takes the fight for women's sports to the next level, files a lawsuit against Leah Thomas. Oh, God, that is not what I wanted. Okay. So what that means is that my whole thing is out of order. Just give me 1 second, guys. And that's what I get for rushing. Okay. So here. Are you going to go next? Nope. I knew it. Yeah. So that's going to be a thing. So anyway, the fight to keep, what happened was that I did not delete the information from Thursday's show yet, so it's still in here also. So I'm just going to have to skip through it as I go. Just bear with me, guys. How did I get you like that, though? Yeah. All right, just give me 1 second. Let me get my mouse. Okay. And it's off. Okay. The fight to keep women's sports exclusively for biological women is just beginning and will be a long one. Former University of Kentucky swimmer Riley Gaines brought the fight front and center when she was forced to compete with transgender athlete Leah Thomas. Now, Gaines has upped the ante in the fight to protect women's and girls' sports. She recently filed a $2 million lawsuit against Thomas, who was born William Thomas, citing cheating in order to win the national women's swimming title, and exposed himself in a female locker room. Oh, there's no. Okay. It's been one of those days, you know. Hey, Citizen Man, welcome in. Okay. When Leah Thomas began life and eventually his swimming career as William Thomas, he was ranked 462 among collegiate male swimmers. Miraculously, all that changed when William became Leah. Of course it did, because now he's swimming in a whole different pool. Leah Thomas trounced her biological female competitors, winning the 2022 NCAA national champions in the 2,500 and wow, I cannot read tonight. In the 200 and 500 meter freestyle races by a whopping 38 seconds, which is unheard of. And obviously, which is only the case because a less than mediocre male swimmer, he was ranked 462, joined a joined the women's division, and now he's the top of his class. Of course he is. Oh God, how did I forget that already? Not only does Riley Gaines' lawsuit cite Thomas cheating, but also says that she and her teammates had no prior warning that a biological man that identifies as a woman would be allowed to share a locker room. Gaines said that it created a very uncomfortable situation, saying, "We were not forewarned beforehand that we would be sharing a locker room with Leah. We did not give our consent. They did not ask for our consent. But in the locker room, we turned around and there's a 6'4" biological man dropping his pants and watching us undress. And we were exposed to male genitalia." Gaines said of the lawsuit, "Thomas cheated in more ways than one. She took a moment I worked for my entire life to achieve." Thomas responded through a spokesman in a snark-filled Dare It Be said, bitchy statement, "I earned the stalemate. I am referring to your fifth place finish in a single event at the national championships as your defining moment. Honey, I didn't know your name until yesterday." The lawsuit cements Riley Gaines in the face as oh my God. The lawsuit cements Riley Gaines as the face of the fight to keep women's sports for biological women. Recently, President Joe Biden proposed a change to Title IX, which is designed to protect women and girls' sports that would prohibit the outright ban of transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Gaines has been outspoken about that as well, saying that denies the Biden administration's proposed bill denies science, truth, and common sense, which of course she's 100% right. Now, a lot of this I covered last week, but just a quick recap before we get into the new stuff on them. Gaines has felt the wrath of the transgender crowd while speaking at an event at San Francisco State University last month. Gaines was assaulted and held in a room for 3 hours while protesters shouted her down. But Gaines could be getting some help from voices just as loud as hers. Former Fox News anchor and podcast host Megyn Kelly has clearly had enough and is joining Gaines, being front and center in the fight for women's sports. On her podcast recently, she pulled no punches, saying, "I'm sick of the bullshit. I care about women. I care about girls. I care about their feelings. That's who I'm fighting for." Kelly has also been outspoken about Bud Light's spokesman and transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney. Of Mulvaney, Kelly said, "There's an old saying that there is safety in numbers. As the lawsuit wins its way through court, it might be enough for other female athletes to come forward and lend their own voices to Riley Gaines in the fight to end the all out erasure of women's sports." Oh, right. So this is just a quick side note. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but apparently the Navy has been pushing forward a drag queen as one of their spokesmen. I don't want to say it's the only one, but it's the one getting the most attention right now. As Navy sailor who was attracted scrutiny for also being a drag queen, has responded to criticism for former Navy SEAL who was part of the team that killed Osama bin Laden. Yeoman Second Class Joshua Kelly, who goes by the stage name Harpy Daniels, received attention online recently after becoming one of 5 digital ambassadors for the Navy. So yeah, he's not the only one, but again, the one getting the most attention. A program which a spokesperson said aimed to reach a wide range of potential candidates as the Navy investigates the most challenging recruiting environment it has faced. Yeah, because everybody's waking up to the BS. And for some reason, they think putting a man and women's face out there is going to encourage people to join the Navy, which is asinine, but okay. Critics have argued that using a drag queen would deter many from joining the Navy, worsening its recruitment problems. However, Kelly has said that Harpy Daniels represented the diversity in the armed forces that was already there. "I'm proud to serve and proud of the stuff that I've done with the military, too," Kelly told News Station on Tuesday. "I'm more than just a drag queen. I have records of He has records of stuff. I'm proud to serve, and I'm proud. Oh, okay. I have records of awards and accomplishments that I have done myself along with other service members who served." Okay. During the interview, Kelly was presented with a tweet by Robert O'Neill, who has claimed that he was the SEAL who shot dead bin Laden, though this is disputed, which read, "All right, the U.S. Navy is now using an enlisted soldier drag queen as a recruiter. I'm done. China's going to destroy us. I can't believe I fought for this bullshit." Which I think is probably the sentiment of most former Navy SEALs, or soon to be former Navy SEALs. Asked if such a statement hurt coming from another former member of the Navy, Kelly responded that it did not. "You have your own opinions, you have your own views," the yeoman said. "And as a sailor, it's my job to defend that freedom, and that includes even my freedom of expression." So it's interesting. I know I say interesting a lot. That's kind of my go-to, but it's honestly kind of scary that we've gone this far. We've moved this far from the goal that it's okay to use what is it called, drag queen as the face of our military. How is this going to pose any fear into anyone who might be a threat against us when our men are not even really men? I mean, honestly, I don't even think reading much more of what the drag queen has to say is important. I just kind of wanted to show you guys what we're working with here. Ugh, these double articles is driving me crazy. Oh, hold on. Let me come out of here for 1 second so you guys can see it. this the one? Oh yeah, this is the one. Here we go. Everything is just buffering. Like, goodness gracious. This is it, y'all. This is it. This is the image that we're putting out for the world. Because why the hell not? Like, I don't even understand why. Just take it in. It's laughable. Like, I think other countries, anyone who was even considering, bringing any real choosing violence against us is going to see this and say, yes, absolutely. Easy target, soft target. Why the hell not? Ugh. And then that's what he looks like as a man, if it will open. Just non-threatening. I mean, this isn't so bad. I could take this. You're in uniform, you look professional. Why the hell not? This is where I was. Okay, now back to the story at hand. Riley Gaines urges female athletes to boycott competing against trans girls. Don't run, don't swim. Now, they did do a whole breakdown of this headline, but she spoke out, and this is actually a video. So I am going to let her do the talking here. Citizen man said, looks like a Baphomet. Exactly. I think that's the point. Oh, where did that go? I thought I had it open. I guess not. Because nothing's going to work how it's supposed to tonight. Okay, so here she is. I think I might have to skip forward a little because I got some of the crap in the beginning. Yeah. Got a commercial, all of that. And there's no sound. Hold on, let me just do a quick sound check because I don't hear it, but no. Hold on, just do a quick sound check because I don't hear it. No, hold on, just do a quick sound check because I don't hear it. All right, here. I'm sharing sound, however, I don't know why it's not playing. Let me just stop screen sharing and try it again. I am sharing audio, Citizen Man. That was the first thing I did. I don't know why it's not working. Oh, try it again. Okay. Sharing your screen and audio. Perfection. And yeah, that's what I did. I'm stopping it and restarting it. Where is it? It's this one. And this sound is on, so we should be good here. Nope. Okay, so I'm just going to try to play it straight from the internet and see if that works. Because everything's just been working so well. There might be a commercial at the beginning, so bear with me. I'm wondering if it was the way I screen recorded it that gave me the issue, but I don't know. This site was already slow earlier, so my hopes are not very high. If anything, I could just read what she said. Thank you guys for your patience. Got me ready to start singing. Okay, here we go, I think. So she is urging women to stop competing when they know that they're going against a transgender, when they know that the stakes are stacked against them. Okay. So what she says is, I think people are really beginning to get fed up with this. I think initially, maybe 2 years ago, maybe we thought we could coexist and that we could have trans. Always does that to me without fail, every single time. Oh, that's the video that took over. Citizen Man said they are really trying to overshadow and replace women with mentally ill men. After all the feminism, I honestly thought I would never see the day. And that's the craziest part is that the feminists are really quiet right now. You're not really hearing much from them. The only thing that I've been seeing is feminism has to be trans inclusive, which is their way of saying, we sign off on this BS, I guess. And it's crazy because, as I've said in previous shows, feminism started because women were being oppressed by men, right? Women's rights were being limited by the men in their lives, right? So is that not still what's happening? And even worse so, because not only are men saying you're a woman, sit down, shut up, you know, now they're literally saying, well, I'm a woman too. So all those extra rights that we gave y'all, for all of this fighting y'all been doing this whole time, we deserve them too because I'm a woman. But no, 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 no. I'm gonna keep my dick because it's fun having that. But I'm a woman too, so I'm gonna be allowed to join your sports. I'm gonna be allowed to go into your bathrooms. I'm gonna be allowed to do all of the stuff that you get to do as a woman because I'm a woman too. I think it's worse. It's much worse than anything that feminists might have fought for in the past, in my opinion. Because at least before, there was a bit of you could say that there was some type of worthy cause behind it. It might have been, the method of which that men decided to go about it might have been wrong, but they thought they were protecting women. They thought that, that they couldn't handle these rights and that, they needed men to do these things for them because that had always been the vibe. That had always been what it was. And now it's like, we know that's not the case. And I'm just gonna take a shit on all your rights and just merge those into my own. Citizen Man says, I honestly don't think the average everyday feminist supports the trans crap. Just the so-called feminist leader. Just like everyday black people versus BLM. I don't know. I don't know. I never really thought about it, honestly, but I think that, I mean, it's an interesting point for sure. But I think a lot more people support it than I think that a lot of people support it because they feel like they have to, because they feel like if they don't, they're going to be labeled as transphobic or what have you. And so they do support it for that reason. And maybe not fully, so maybe you are right. But I think that the fact that they're still outwardly supporting it, the fact that they're still, the fact that they're still supporting it outwardly and in the public eye, I think that's just as damaging. Like, if they're saying it and they don't really believe it, I think that's worse.
My old internet was not letting me.
Sorry, there's a commercial, guys. And it's
so we switched to Verizon Business Internet. They have business grade internet nationwide.
Make the switch. It's your business. It's your Verizon. Nationwide. Make the switch. It's your business. It's your Verizon. Nationwide. Make the switch.
Come on, girl. The floor is yours. This is why, we screen record. Okay, here we go.
My name is Riley Gaines. This past year, I recently graduated from the... My name is Riley Gaines.
Oh, God. Okay, so let me try this. This is painful. Goodness
University
gracious.
of Kentucky, where I was on the women's swim and dive team all 4 years of my collegiate career. I think this will get worse before it gets better. It's a matter of how many girls have to be injured playing against a male, how many girls have to lose out on scholarships and trophies and titles, how many girls have to feel violated in the locker room, how many girls have to go through this before they make changes. Because the argument we're seeing now is, oh, it's not really happening. Or, it's high school, middle school sports. It's not that deep. It doesn't have to be that competitive. Those are the arguments we're seeing. And both of those are insensitive and untrue. To say it's not happening is you're simply ignoring the problem, because it is happening. I could list off 100 examples right now of women losing out on opportunities. So I believe it will get worse before it gets better, unfortunately, unless we have more women willing to boycott. We have girls who the whistle blows and they don't run, they don't swim, they stand up on the block and they don't go. It's unfortunate, of course, to ask women to make that sacrifice, because these are their sports. They should be entitled to playing. They shouldn't have to give up anything to want changes and to get changes. I think people are really beginning to get fed up with this. I think initially, maybe 2 years ago, maybe we thought we could coexist and this could be something that we could allow trans women into our spaces because we could be inclusive. This would be something that worked. But now we're seeing, of course, that doesn't work. We're seeing this, again, being one-sided. We're seeing males infiltrate into women's sports and spaces and win and take away opportunities from women. And we're not seeing that the other way around. And so I think people are beginning to realize this. I think the tides are beginning to turn. I'm hopeful that more coaches will be outspoken, more parents. We need parents to defend their daughters and sons. More athletes will be willing to say how they feel. We need athletic directors. We need medical professionals to speak up and address the science behind it, how male puberty affects the body and the differences that it allows men to have in comparison to women. To say this isn't existing is to deny the facts in front of our faces. This is happening at all levels, all states, all sports, all ages. My experience is becoming less and less unique by the day. And when I say my experience, I mean competing against a mediocre male who beat every female in the country and the nation by seconds. How can we say that this is fair? How can we say this is right? How can we put women in this position to where they're losing out and there's nothing they can do about it? Obviously, this issue has become somewhat of a political issue, which is unfortunate because sports should never be political, but it was inevitable it would go this way. But people all across the political spectrum are realizing this is specifically harmful. This whole gender ideology propaganda movement is specifically harmful to women and children. And I think they're starting to get fed up. They're starting to use their voice more. It's of course scary to step on toes and ruffle feathers, but that's exactly what we need in order to make changes. But let's say 5-10 years, if this isn't fixed, one male winning a national title among the women will quickly turn into 3 and 5 and 10 and so on. And so that's why it's crucial we make changes. But again, I'm hopeful, I really am, that tides will start to turn. and parents, women, coaches, they'll stand up to this because they'll quickly realize this is something that's harmful to women.
Okay. So she said a couple of things there. And I think one thing that it's important to draw out is the fact that if it's not stopped, it's going to worsen. And we're seeing it already because it's spread across so many different sports at this point. And I think that's why she said this. I think that's why she's urging female athletes to stop, because if we don't stop, then we're going to get to that point. And part of the reason also is her own experiences. You know, she's spoken many times about the fact that her own experiences. Okay, just making sure you guys can hear me. She's spoken many times about the fact that, you know, they were not asked or forewarned that they were going to be competing against a man, that, you know, she had worked her whole life to get to this point, and she ended up losing to a man who placed 500th against other men, you know. So obviously it always brings up thoughts of Joanna Man. And that's the craziest thing to me, is that this movie was made as a comedy. You know, in the 90s, we watched this movie and it was just like, you know, it was funny. It was so far-fetched. And now we're literally living it. We're living that a man who can't hack it with the men is putting on a dress and a wig and competing against women because he knows he can win, because he knows he's superior. So for anyone to say that, you know, taking hormones is going to break down a man's body enough to put him on equal playing field against a woman is kidding himself. And they know this. That's the only reason why they're choosing to, quote unquote, identify as women once they can't hack it as men. So of course, you know, she's going to speak out and say, listen, guys, this is my experience. This is what I went through. I was traumatized by having to compete against a man who I knew my chances of beating were slim to none. And she still did pretty well. You know, she tied him in one event. He beat her in the others, but she still did pretty well. She held her own as best as she could. But that just tells you that she really is the top of her class. And had she been competing against other women, had she been competing against people who were on equal footing of her, that she would have been the top competitor. And there would have been no question about that. You know, so really and truly she is. And that's why we're here where we are now. That's why she has to bring a legal case against this person who stole her title. And quite honestly, the more research that I do about the situation, I've said in the past how, like, I'm proud of her for even taking this stance. However, I am fearful that her chances are slim to none that she's going to even win. So quite honestly, just the fact that she's on the national stage and getting so much attention behind it might be the extent of where we get here. And it's sad to say, because anyone looking at the situation from the outside can agree that this was not a fair fight. Citizen Man said, if female athletes boycott the sports events, that will force the athletic organizations to admit that these trans women are actually men. That would be a big blow to the anti-women movement. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of their only recourse right now, because no one's standing up for their rights. No one's saying, okay, these women are not safe in their own spaces anymore. No one's saying, okay, this really isn't fair to them because they're competing against a biological man, and obviously they'll never be equally, you know, on equal footing in this event or what sport, what have you. So no one's saying that. So the only thing they can do is not compete. Have that man run by himself. And these are huge money makers. So once the dollars start to become affected, oh yeah, then people's eyes are going to be open. Oh, gotta skip one, I forgot. Okay. This I found and I thought was really interesting, because I'm like, she was arrested Why was she arrested? And she kind of spoke about it briefly in the first article that I read. So Riley Gaines arrested for making trans activists assault her. How the hell do you make someone assault you? And how do you get arrested for making someone assault you? Interesting. Former NCAA swimming champion and current women's rights activist Riley Gaines has been arrested and charged with forcing trans activists to physically assault her after giving a speech regarding protecting women's rights in San Francisco State University. Ms. Gaines has been taken into custody and booked, said University Police spokesperson Phil Shaw. She has been charged with forcing supporters of the trans community to assault her. This is a serious crime and will be treated as such. Any victims of violent beatings by trans activists will face swift justice. What? What does that even mean? The whole statement is just crazy. So she's been arrested. I should say she's allegedly been arrested for forcing someone to assault her. When have you ever even heard that as a possibility? Gaines has become an outspoken critic of biological males being allowed to compete against biological females in women's sports, leading to activists calling for her to be silenced. Who is this woman? Who says women have rights? Asked one angry activist. What? Like, talk about taking it too far. They just all outward with it. Who is this woman who says women have rights? What? Aren't these the rights that you're infringing upon? Aren't these the rights that you want for yourself as a man pretending to be a woman? Of course women have rights. Those words are literally violence and forcing supporters of the trans community to physically beat her. How dare she commit such a horrible act and make someone punch her? It's disgusting. What? How dare she commit such a horrible act and make someone punch her? When have you ever heard of someone making someone else punch them and being arrested for doing such? This is wow. University officials heralded the actions of the trans activists and the swift response by the campus police in dealing with Gaines' dangerous behavior. We're so proud of our campus police for their bravery, said a university spokesperson. Evergreen Stardust. Now, you know damn well that wasn't the name that their mother gave them. They, them. I mean, there you go, obviously. Evergreen Stardust sounds like a drug. Not to mention the courageous actions of the brave people who assaulted Miss Gaines. The brave people who assaulted Miss Gaines? Like, what? So this whole article is just justifying the fact that they, we all know that their whole narrative, right, is we need these rights because without them, we can be victims of violence. And not only that, there's a great chance that we'll kill ourselves. And they are always the first ones to throw the first punch. Like, talk about playing. That goes back to the title, playing the victim. What? You're literally beating this person and saying they made you beat them. Is that not what every abuser ever says? I love you. I love you so much. Why do you make me do this to you? What? At publishing time, okay, fact check. This article is satire. Well, then that explains why the hell they went so far. But that's okay because I have another article that gets into what actually happened. So let's keep going with this satire. And the funny thing is that I feel like they always do that though. They always say some off the wall shit and then it's like, oh, it's satire. We were just joking. Okay, sure you were. At publishing time, those San Francisco prosecutors had charged Gaines with a felony and requested that she be held without bail until trial sources said a special allowance to institute. Oh yeah. Obviously they went off on that part. Okay, so what actually happened, right? It was a video, but I mean, we see how my videos were going tonight, so we're not going to do that. But Riley Gaines whisked to safety after being assaulted at San Francisco event. Yeah, and that, as Citizen Man said, it's satire, but things are so crazy you can't tell the difference these days. Yeah, and the thing is, like I said before, they do that where they say the craziest off the wall shit, and then they're, oh, it's satire. It's kind of like somebody saying, some, really mean shit to you, and then, oh, I was just joking. You can't take a joke. Like, yeah, but you said it. Gaines was whisked. So this is what actually happened. Riley Gaines was whisked to safety by police on Thursday night after being assaulted while speaking at a Turning Point USA event held on the campus of San Francisco State University. In a video Gaines posted to Twitter, the former championship swimmer turned women's sports advocate can be seen hurrying down a hallway alongside police officers as transgender activists shouted, "Trans rights are human rights." The prisoners are running the asylum at SFSU. I was ambushed and physically hit twice by a man. This is proof that women need sex-protected spaces. Still, only further assures me that I'm doing something right. When they want you silent, speak louder. The prisoners are running the asylum. Oh, I read that part. As Gaines shared her experience competing against Leah Thomas, a biological male who identifies as a transgender female, a crowd of protesters could be heard chanting outside. The protesters eventually made their way to the room where Gaines was speaking, forcing her to evacuate. Inside, chants can be heard in the room where Riley Gaines is speaking. Oh, that's talking about the video, which obviously we're not watching. As she was escorted by police, Gaines said she was physically hit. I'm okay currently, but an hour and a half later, I'm still barricaded in a room with ambushers on the outside yelling and threatening violence. So it's kind of like they made that last article to make it all, to kind of downplay everything that actually happened. But when you read about it, it's actually still pretty disgusting. She went to this university. She was invited there. She made a speech talking about, how she felt about women in sports and whether or not transgender people should be allowed in sports, which obviously she doesn't think they should. And this is how she was received. People started to almost riot, and make it very hard for her to even leave the building, to the point that the police had to barricade her in a room for hours until they calmed down, simply because she said that women should be the only one in women's sports, biological women, obviously. Riley Gaines has been escorted out of the event into a side hallway in the HSS building. Students were following through. Trans women are women. As police escorted me out of the event space to my current location, I was hit physically twice by what I presume was a male individual. This assures me I'm doing the right thing. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk called the attack unacceptable. This is unacceptable at an American college campus, even in San Francisco, Kirk tweeted. Pray for Riley Gaines and for our brave students at SFSU. Gaines' agent, Ellie Bremer, said the attack would not deter her from continuing to speak out. Instead of a thoughtful decision tonight at SFSU, instead of a thoughtful discussion tonight, Riley was violently accosted, shouted at, physically assaulted, and barricaded in a room by protesters. It's stunning that in America in 2023, it's acceptable for biological male students to violently assault a woman for standing up for women's rights. Bremer said in a statement, "This will not stop Riley from boldly educating people on the dangers of biological men and women's sports. She will continue to speak the truth against the radical left that no longer understands the difference between men and women." The event began just before 7 p.m. Pacific time. Nearly 5 hours later, police told all protesters who remained to disperse or face arrest. A video posted by the students, by the school's student-run newspaper showed Gaines leaving SFU alongside a police escort just before midnight. So again, this whole situation just obviously got completely blown out of proportion. As I said, she went to the school to tell them how she felt about, and all of this happened before she decided to bring her lawsuit against Leah Thomas. This was just after her experience and what she had seen, and now this is her stance that she feels that only biological women should be allowed in women's sports, understandably so, after what she saw and went through. And violence ensued, simply for words, simply for her saying how she felt, by the very people who are so afraid of violence, by the very people who need to be a quote unquote protected group because they are in danger of so much violence coming toward them. And all they do is choose violence constantly, consistently. And the scariest part is that these are biological men throwing hands against women, knowing that they have more physical strength than a woman, knowing that they can cause real bodily harm. And they convince themselves that the drugs that they're taking to medically castrate themselves are going to quote unquote break them down enough that they have the same physical strength as a woman, and I'm guessing rationalize it enough that it's okay to hit a woman, which it's asinine. I mean, it's just not, their favorite word is science, 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 and it's just not science to even believe that that's possible. Sorry. So after this all happened, Riley threatened that she was going to bring a lawsuit against the people who, were violent towards her, as she should. I have not seen anything yet to say that she has, but she absolutely should have a case against the school for allowing that to happen. And yeah. Okay, so that was pretty much all I had for you guys tonight. I just kind of wanted to touch a little bit more on this case and just give you guys an update as to what is going on with Riley and Leah Thomas and all of that. And, it all started with, do I have it? Yes. She thought it was sweet. I mean, I think we all did in the beginning, right? When we allowed this to happen, when we, little by little gave them an inch, gave them another inch, gave them another inch, until now, here we are. We're not safe. We're not protected. And it is men who are the real threat. Obviously, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. That came out completely wrong. Not men as a whole, but these men, these sick men who either truly believe that they're women or are pretending and putting on, like I said, women's face in order to join women's spaces and knowing exactly what they're doing. So either way, they're mentally ill. So thank you all for coming tonight. And I am going to end it there. And I'm going to definitely keep up to date on this. Definitely keep watching this case and see if there's any updates. And I'll let you guys know as things develop. And that's about it for me. So thank you all so much. That is not what I wanted. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers out there. And good night.